What if Germany united in 1848? Part 2. Starting off, I wanted to thank everyone for 50 likes on the first part. I really appreciate it. Check it out if you haven't yet. But to summarize, the Crimean War breaks out earlier, meaning that Russia is distracted in a war with the Ottomans. Meanwhile, in Austria, the Spring of Nations starts, and without Russian aid, the Austrian Empire collapses. Then the Prussian king is convinced to accept the position of Emperor of all of Germany. Later down the line, Germany and Italy attack France and take Alsace-Lorraine, resulting in the formation of similar factions to our timeline. But thanks to the larger amount of territory and more time to develop, Germany is able to win this timeline's World War I, taking even more land. Now onto the scenario. So after the war, communist revolutions would likely break out in both France and Russia. And while in France I think it's possible that Germany and Britain consider differences aside and prevent communism from rising, in Russia, no matter what Germany does, the outcome will likely remain the same. Although I do see Germany taking advantage of the revolution to support their allies and puppets in gaining more land. On a related note, in this timeline with German victory in the war, Finland could be ruled by a German monarch, Friedrich Karl of Hesse, just as planned in our timeline. Now let's dive into the impact of the war on each nation and the Central Powers. The Ottomans fought a costly war with Russia and Britain for the Caucasus, which could prove more harm than good, due to the threat of rebellions in both Armenia and Georgia. Although if the Ottomans are able to reform and use their immense oil wealth to their advantage, it's possible they could become a superpower, but they still would be dealing with the Arab revolt, losing the Hejaz. They would also still have the problem with minorities, like the Arabs, Kurds. Hungary would also be dealing with problems with its minorities, since the state would likely be unwilling to grant more autonomy to them, leading to revolts. This would force Germany to come to their aid, making Hungary a de facto German puppet state. The Central Power member in the best position after the war would be Bulgaria, which destroyed its main rival of Serbia. But after the war they would likely become an unwilling German ally, since by this point most of their territorial interests clashed with Germany's allies. The Ottomans controlled Thrace, which Bulgaria had an eye on, and Greece, which had a German monarch, had Thessaloniki. But considering a similar event happens as in our timeline, with the pro-Entente faction coming on top, it's possible Germany would back a counter-coup to restore the king to full power. Capitalizing on this, Bulgaria could take Thessaloniki. As goes for Germany, they would be somewhat weakened after the war, suffering from years of blockade, which would lead to the passing of several reforms. Another problem would be the eastern territories, taken from Russia in this timeline, Treaty of Brest-Litovsk. It's likely that Germany would still carry out the idea of the Polish border strip, a plan for a buffer zone between Germany and Poland. They planned on taking a territory of 30,000 square kilometers, displacing the Polish population and resettling the region with Germans. Germany would likely take further action to push Germanization in Poland. In the Baltics, they would likely establish a puppet state under a member of the royal family, with the plan of eventually annexing the Baltics into Germany due to their historical ties. And finally, for Belarus and Ukraine, Germany would likely use them to boost their economy by extracting significant resources like coal and oil. Ukraine would likely also become a breadbasket for Germany. However, the distance of these states from Germany would likely result in quite a bit of autonomy from both. Now let's get into the timeline. After the war, Germany would likely dominate the European scene, especially since after the First World War and the Communist French Revolution, Britain would likely turn isolationist and start refocusing on their empire, maybe attempting the Imperial Federation plan of our timeline. Meanwhile, France, after losing to wars against Germany, and especially since in this timeline, France would be hit especially hard by the Wall Street crash, because they would have an even greater debt to the US and have to pay huge war reparations to Germany. This would likely result in the rise of extremist movements, and considering the previous defeat of the communists, many would likely flock to more far-right movements. Meanwhile, in Italy, Mussolini would rise with even greater support. Soon after, France, Italy, and maybe Japan would ally, forming the Paris-Rome-Tokyo axis. As goes for the Soviets, after winning the Civil War, they would slowly restabilize. However, retaking any of their lost lands would be near impossible, since the Ottomans would likely be a close partner to Germany due to their resources, and the other states were either puppets or other allies. It's possible the Soviets concentrate on forming an alliance with France and Italy, while also supporting independence movements in the Eastern territories. This will bring us to this timeline's World War II. The Soviets, feeling confident with their new alliance with the Axis, would attack the Ottomans, hoping that Germany might not be as inclined to intervene as with the other states. However, it's possible that the German High Command experiences similar paranoia, just like in the prelude to World War I, when they feared Russian potential. This time, they would fear the power of the alliance of the Soviets and the Axis, since it's likely that German intelligence would already be aware of the pact between them. So Germany and the Bloc joined the war. Following that, the Axis joined against them. But the war would still likely be in the advantage of the German faction, since the front lines are similar to the ones in World War I, but with a stronger German faction. Although a slight problem would arise with rebellions in Poland and Hungary, and whilst these rebellions would hinder German efforts, it's unlikely that it would cause Germany to outright lose the war, since most of their other territories would remain loyal. As goes for Romania and Bulgaria, both states might want to join the war, but feel threatened that if one joins, the other state will join against them, so both states will use the war to extract concessions from Germany. At the end of the war, after significant territorial losses, the French and Italian dictatorships would start unraveling, and to prevent Germany from capitalizing and taking control over all of Europe, Britain would threaten to intervene, forcing a negotiated peace. In the peace treaty, Germany will end up with more French and Italian territories and colonies, as well as a sphere over Italy. Meanwhile, Britain will gain a sphere over France. In the east, following the Soviet surrender, Germany would likely form more puppet regimes like Kalmykia, Dagestan, and Circassia, maybe even a Russian puppet regime centered in St. Petersburg. Another possibility is the creation of Volga Germany for the Germans living there. Ukraine, Belarus, and Finland would also expand, with Ukraine expanding all the way to the Don and taking the Kuban, Belarus reaching all the way to Smolensk, and Finland taking more of Karelia. The Soviet Union would fall into another civil war, with German intervention determining the war's outcome. Germany might also discover the atomic bomb around this time, and with a similar development in Britain soon after, the world would likely go into a much hotter Cold War. But that's it for What If Germany United in 1848, Part 2. What do you think? What will happen in the future? If you want to find out, get this video to 25 likes for part 3. If you think something would happen differently in this timeline, or you want me to cover a certain topic, make sure to comment it down below. And also make sure to like and subscribe. Thank you for watching, and goodbye.